The information provided on this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified health provider with any questions you may have. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on any information provided here is solely at your own risk.
Welcome. This is Birth, Baby. Your hosts are Sierra Morgan and Samantha Kelly. Sierra is a birth doula, hypnobirthing educator, and pediatric sleep consultant.
Samantha is a birth doula, childbirth educator, and lactation counselor. Join us as we guide you through your options for your pregnancy, birth, and postpartum journey. Thank you to our listeners for your continued support. If you enjoy our content, please be sure to like, follow, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. This helps us gain visibility to other people that could benefit from listening in. Hello, everyone. Today we are going to do a little bonus episode content for you about our academy. We don't talk about our Birth Doula Training Academy much, but we've had some people interested in cross-training with us. So we're going to talk about what the heck that even means. And we're going to tell you a little bit about how we came from our trainings and to the point that we are right now and what that process looks like. So, hello, Samantha.
Yeah. So I think to start, I'll give a quick little kind of recap on what training as a doula even looks like. So there are a million different training organizations across probably the whole world, but even just here in the United States, even just here in Central Texas, there are a large number of training organizations and options when you're trying to decide. Now, for those of you who do not know, being a doula is not a protected state, which means that anybody could technically call themselves a doula. But the kind of industry standard for a doula and how you can get, kind of accepted into working in hospitals, even just being allowed to call yourself a doula in hospital, work with insurance, Medicaid, all those different things, is you have to go through an accepted doula training, and there's kind of an accepted process for how we do that. So we go through a training process. There are things that you have to do to train as a doula, and then you can choose to go through the certification part of becoming a doula, which is basically more homework that you do so that you can then show that you have done all of the things, checked everything off of the list to become a doula. There's going to be, some organizations that have really, really intense things, some that have a little way loose things. And then there's a lot of people who are kind of in between. So Birth Baby Academy was kind of born out of this idea that we want to create something that gives people the things that they actually need to not just be able to go on and work in hospitals and, hopefully work with insurance and do all of these different things in the future, but also to be able to hit the ground running and know everything that you need to know. Because Sierra and I trained with two different groups, and both of us, so I trained with Doula, which is Doulas of North America. And it was 2020 when I did my training. So it was definitely a weird time for training all around. But when I left my training, I felt like I knew a lot about pregnancy. I knew a lot about what birth looked like. I had some basic ideas on things that I can do to help with comfort measures, things that I can't do with comfort measures. I didn't really feel like I had any idea about what it meant to actually start a doula business. So I went through months of research of trying to figure out, okay, so do I have to have an LLC? Do I have to what is all the paperwork that I have to be doing? How do I build a website? Is a website even necessary? How do I start getting clients? And doing all of these things. And I did additional trainings, free things that I found online, webinars. I was just collecting everything that I could, learning from everybody that I could. And while I'm so grateful that I had that experience, because I really think that drive to get all of that information helped me to be a better doula right now, I also think about how difficult that would be for some of the new doulas that I know. And even now for myself, I'm I have two older kids. I have, I'm working, I'm pregnant. Like there are so many different things going on in my life. I don't know if I would have the capacity to do that again right now, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't be able to be a doula
Yeah.
and do all of that. So that was a little bit of where we came from.
Yeah, and I trained with Tiny Love. I actually originally did a deposit to do Dona, and somebody kind of talked me out of it
Mhm.
because a lot of people that train with Dona end up choosing not to certify because of some of their overhead oversight things that they require. And we have a whole one about like a whole episode, you guys, about how to choose your doula training if you want to go back
Yeah.
and listen to that. But I trained with Tiny Love and I didn't realize when I started training that I would still need so much supplemental information after I was done. So I first went to Hypnobirthing International's training to become a certified childbirth educator. And so that was my first step. And then bought my online Tiny Love training. And it was a benefit to me, or like a perk to me, that it was all able to be done online. Because I did fly away for 4 days from my family in order to do my childbirth ed stuff. But I wanted to be able to take my time and like really dig into the material with the doula stuff. Well, as I finished that, and yes, it was awesome that it was self paced and online, which is why we chose to create that for Birth Baby Academy as well, because a lot of parents aren't able to travel or take a full weekend away from their families and they're multitasking or they have another job where they're, doing that while trying to start this new business. And I finished my Tiny Love training and I was like, okay, well, what else do I need to do? All right. Well, I ended up doing a stillbirth day training. I ended up doing an evidence-based birth pro membership. I took all of their continuing education classes about VBAC and all of those things. There were just so many different avenues that I went to try to get more information so that I would feel well-rounded. And I didn't ever take a business course, but I did already have a background in business. So for me, the business piece of it came a little bit more naturally to me than the client care. Um, and the evidence and the research kind of end of it was not my jam already. And so I really had to dive a little bit deeper into the nuance of that. And so when we came up with Birth Baby Academy, we were like, all right, we want more of a one-stop shop because we don't we don't want people to be disappointed at the end of their training that they don't quite feel ready to jump in. And we have had people cross train with us from Dona, from Madriela, I believe, from what was the last one? There was one recently. We've had quite a few Dona actually, which is kind of funny. Childbirth International, maybe, or something like that was another one. So the feedback that we're getting is people at the end of this training weekend with us, or if they do the online training, but I think so far everyone who's cross trained with us has done the in person, are like, whoa, like this was so much more than I learned when I did my original training. So we know that financially you've already invested so much in your first training that you took. And
Mhm.
even if I want to say mine was like $500 or something for a Tiny Love, which isn't that much money, but it is to some, in the grand scheme of things, when you think about training prices, it's not that much money in terms of training prices, but it is still a big chunk of cash.
Yeah.
We don't want people to feel like, okay, well, that was worthless. I don't think that it was worthless. I just know that there are still a lot of gaps. And some of the gaps that we hear are they don't have any idea about anything medical, which doulas are not medical. So it's okay that you don't know anything medical. But we chose to put in just some information and education about some of the things that can happen around different medical scenarios within birth or
Mhm.
pregnancy so that you're not blindsided when it happens and feeling like you have to do a deep dive, on Google or WebMD or something to even have a background knowledge of what your clients are dealing with, just to be more well versed in it. And also the business piece was a huge piece of it. And then the difference between supporting an out of hospital birth and an in hospital birth, because we have a whole module on each of those. And there are different nuances to those. It is different working with a midwife group than it is with working with an OB in hospital or a midwife group in hospital versus a home birth or a birthing center, even. And
Mhm.
so those things were really important to us. So we want it to be still economically friendly-ish to be able to do this program, but we ended up combining it. So you want to tell them the couple of things that we combined in our cross training where it's not just training for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things when we're talking about cross training is that's maybe a little bit different. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and that we're adding this little thing on for a year of something. instead of doing 2 years of something with us for the next. She was like, Sierra, this is your idea. Why are you doing this to me?
Pregnancy brain. I have no idea, guys.
You guys, brain, Swiss cheese. Hi, hello. That's Samantha these days. And we're not editing that out because that is real life. It is mentorship. So we want you to have the ability to be mentored, because a lot of these places are sending doulas out and don't have even a mentorship option, some of the places. And we have that as an add-on for people that are originally taking our course. You can add on mentorship, which we are going to have a bonus episode, I believe, next month about mentorship. And if you want to go that route with us. But with our cross training, it's actually just all in. It's all the same thing. So you cross train with us in the self-paced online program. There is an option to go into our in-person if you are here in Austin. And it's instead of the 2 years of mentorship with the regular mentorship pathway that, again, we'll go into more another time, it is 1 full year of mentorship with us. So that is included in the price of cross training. And we won't separate them, because otherwise, we're just going to keep telling you to reference all the questions you asked and be like, oh, that's in the training. Or, if you ask us in mentorship and you only want to be in our mentorship program, but you don't want to cross train, we're going to go, oh, that's in our training. So we just don't feel like it's possible to separate the two.
No. Yeah, definitely. I think this is what I see a lot in new doula groups is the people who are really hungry for like doing this work and being successful. A lot of times they're looking for somebody to do mentorship, to be a mentor for them. And so that's something that we felt really strongly about. I would say that's actually where the whole basis of BBA came from, that our first thought was we want to have a mentorship program for these new doulas. And so this is a really big part of the heart behind our academy, is that we want to walk alongside people. And especially when we're talking about recertification, I think there's always some reason that somebody is looking to cross-certify with some other company, whether it's because they want to be able to do things that they can't currently do, or they want a different kind of certification, or they just don't feel like they've had enough knowledge. And I think the mentorship piece is really, really helpful in that. And being able to just come together with a whole group of also, training doulas who are figuring it all out and figuring it